When Nintendo said that they were going to start charging $80 for some of their first party titles, they really opened up the floodgates, and we knew that would happen. Microsoft has followed suit. We, of course, have executives and CEOs coming out talking about how $80 games are actually a steal because we could be charging significantly more. And now Randy, watching girls do magic tricks from his work USB Pitchford, is coming out and saying it's not his problem you don't want to pay $80 for games, and if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, of course, over the years, Randy Pitchford has been accused of some interesting things, all that have been dismissed, all allegedly. But one thing that he is now being accused of is being completely out of touch, because he is saying that $80 games are actually good, and that's not a big problem. Now, of course, there's a lot of ex-executives and CEOs and businessmen within this industry who are saying the same thing. I had just recently made another video talking about how an ex-PlayStation executive was saying 70 or 80 games are a steal, and as long as people choose carefully how they spend their money, I don't think they should be complaining. My whole video on that will be linked down below in case you're interested. But now Randy Pitchford is saying something extremely similar. So in what I think is a awful response to somebody's simple criticism and ultimately request, he's basically saying it's a you problem that you can't afford video games. So we're just a few months away from Borderlands 4, which recently had its release date moved a little further up to come out in early September. A fan of the Borderlands franchise messaged developer Gearbox Software CEO Randy Pitchford over X, formerly Twitter, expressing concerns that the upcoming Borderlands 4 would be $80. They said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increasing of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher, which I do agree with the first part. Obviously, as a CEO, you don't have complete control over literally everything, but he, of course, could make a case on the gamer's behalf, but that would also mean that he would actually have to care, and I totally think that this individual is correct when they're saying it's a risk to charge $80 for video games, especially when the price of literally everything is going up for people. Look at something like Expedition 33. I love using that as an example now. That has sold millions of copies and they only charged $50 for it. And sure, the budget for that game is a fraction of what something like Borderlands 4 is, but maybe you shouldn't be putting hundreds of millions of dollars into one project when another game can come out for $50 million, that's the estimate for 33, and make millions and millions. But his response is, A, not my call, and B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. Back in my day, hello, fellow kids, I too used to have to pay $80 for video games. Listen, I understand that video games also used to cost at times $80, and there are people within this industry who feel slighted that they haven't been able to skyrocket their price, but the market then was significantly different than the market now, and I just don't know why he doesn't get that. Since physical media is dying, okay, all of these companies don't have to worry about storing and shipping or even producing the numbers that they used to, and of course, that figure has been declining. There used to be far less people buying and playing games. Now the number of gamers globally has grown to over 3.2 billion people. 18,000 games launched last year, and in 1998, so 7 years after the number that he's giving in 1991, there was only about 1,000 games that had launched. So that's a significantly different number. And in 2024, the industry made $200 billion. Then take into consideration that $100 billion was mobile and only $11.28 billion of the other $100 billion was physical games. So of those, they aren't producing more than half of that figure in physical titles. It's all digital. That means that they don't have all of that overhead, so there's no extra costs attached, which, hey, you might say that some games are worth $80, and I completely get that. I would pay $80 for Expedition 33, which was only $50. I would pay $80 for Elden Ring. I would pay $80 for quite a few games, but 95% of games, hell, maybe even like 98% of video games do not deserve $80+ price tags. Never mind if that price goes higher. You're not going to convince me that $80 or $100 video games should be normal. And that's not even taking into consideration that they make money outside of an initial game purchase, like microtransactions, whether that is loot boxes or cosmetics or battle passes. There are so many ways for companies to make money now. You're not going to sit here and say that, oh, back in my day, things weren't so different, so the industry needs to majorly shift. That's just absolute bullshit. And unfortunately, right, for, I guess, some of these game developers, they are creating a product that does deserve a higher price tag. But the problem is that when one company does something, every company wants to do that. Nintendo opened the floodgates, but someone was going to eventually. I mean, we've heard for years at this point that they want to charge $100 for GTA 6, and that wouldn't particularly surprise me. But it's like he's out of touch, not just with the video game industry, but the state of the world in general. Now, I'm not a financial analyst, right? I can only give you like my general opinions and share to you information that I see. But as of CBS News 3 days ago, most Americans don't earn enough to afford basic costs of living. Okay, video games are not a necessity. Yes, I think that video games are amazing, and I love video games, and I highly recommend literally everybody tries a video game at some point in their life. But when the price of normal household goods are skyrocketing and going up, not just in America, but everywhere, and specifically in America, those people don't earn enough to afford basic costs of living, it's going to be hard to convince them that you need to just shut up and consume product and accept the fact that we need to charge more. And this mentality of if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen is absolutely abhorrent, in my opinion. You are a real fan if you buy a game for $3.99 on sale on Steam. You are a real fan if you are simply reposting their posts over on X. You are a real fan if you're watching videos about a certain franchise. It is absolutely disgusting to say if you're a real fan, you'll shut up and you'll consume product. Not everybody is able to do that, but they can also still be a real fan. Randy Pitchford over here, who's making hundreds of millions of dollars off the gaming industry, just doesn't seem to understand that, and he is getting absolutely raked across the coals by gamers, and I'm happy to see it happen. If you are this out of touch, you need a slap in the face with reality. They will learn when gamers stop paying for shit. Some people can't just make it happen like that without robbing their local store. It's just more manipulation. These people are mentally ill. He's not technically wrong, but it's uncool to say this to a customer. I completely disagree, but that's okay. It's gaslighting. It's the same manipulative if you're a real man type of argument. It's time for not a real fan merch. Maybe I'll make some. $80 is too much in today's market. We have a lot more competition than it did back then. I'd say 40 to 50 is the sweet spot, which I completely agree with. I think most video games you could get away with charging $40 to $50 for. 80 though, you have to make a game that is on another level. You have to make something that is so high quality and it's unique and it has to be just a really good experience. Overall, that's why I try to stream a lot of games on this channel, even if I don't think that I'm necessarily going to like it, like a Sweet Baby Inc. game. For instance, like I streamed Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I streamed Flintlock The Siege of Dawn, I streamed Concord because while, yes, I am able to, create this content for the channel, it is potentially saving you guys money. And when there are so many video games releasing, it's like fast fashion now, and there are so many titles coming out at a higher price tag, especially now with games going up in some cases to $80, you shouldn't be forced to buy a game that might be a pile of trash. And we can't trust mainstream media anymore. We can't trust the access journos at Kotaku and Polygon and The Gamer to give us genuine feedback because sometimes they're paid off, allegedly. sometimes they're paid off to give good reviews. So it's hard to trust them. That's why independent reviewers are so important. Even if it's not me, even if you have another YouTuber, Twitch streamer that's your favorite content creator, that's why it is so important to support them so that they can continue to do what the mainstream won't. And so you're not getting scammed by the Randy Pitchfords of the world. Now, maybe Borderlands 4 will come out and be amazing. Borderlands has been in a tough spot over the past couple of years. I used to really love Borderlands. And then with each iteration, it's really kind of gone downhill. And with, of course, the movie coming out, that was a nightmare for them. And Borderlands 4 looks like it has a lot of good going for it, but we don't know any story elements, which is really where Borderlands started to go downhill. If this comes out and it's amazing, maybe it will truly be worth $80. Who knows? But saying you're not a real fan if you don't shut up and consume product is an instant turnoff for a lot of people, myself included. And then he goes on to say, like, oh, it's not my call, and I still found a way to make it happen. That's just not the case for every single person, Mr. USB Pitchford. So I'll be keeping my eye on this to see if he responds again, if he tries to clarify, if he apologizes. I highly doubt it. But right now he's getting completely and utterly ratioed by gamers. Funny how Randy Pitchford can only get 70 likes in a couple of days. And, well, basically nobody's been paying attention to his social media, which is why it's only being brought up now. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.